Yeah, I love it.
First of all, when you see Dave Epstein, tell him thank you for letting us see this one. This is a great one. This is one of Dave Epstein's. So if you guys know him, he buys. He's the one. Him and Henry Grant, the ones that do a lot with foreclosures and stuff. So Dave Epstein buys liens from the sheriff's sales, and so this is one that he bought the association lien on it. Now, I don't know all the details, but I have a feeling that he actually needs to get a short sale accepted from the bank in order to break even on this one because of how bad condition it is. That's not a typical scenario. So this one here, if you guys saw the pictures, if you didn't see the pictures, I can show you again later on. He sent me the before pictures.
Yeah, a lot of times that people, know.
Yeah, that's very common for them to damage the properties. Yeah. It's just very rare for them to do so much damage that you have to gut the inside. Usually you might have to tear down a wall and replace some sheetrock or repaint the whole thing, but it's very rare that you'd have to tear down everything because it was so bad. So there might have been more to it than that, and I can't tell everything from the pictures. I didn't talk to Dave a lot about what was going on other than just texting back and forth. He gave me a little bit of the details. So, yeah, they ended up having to gut this and got it down to this part, which is nice to see because we've looked at a couple in the past, but those are those older houses with that lath and plaster and the old 2x4s, and they have what they call the balloon walls, where the 2x4s go straight up for two walls and you don't have any spacers or anything. Here's a good spot to see what headers look like. And we'll talk about that one header over there. I don't know if anyone noticed it, but it's sagging. I thought about that a little bit more, Devin. I don't think it's not a structural thing, so we'll talk about that.
Oh yeah, it's bending.
Yeah, it's not bending, but it has an optical illusion of bending. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. First of all, what do you guys think the rehab costs were going to be on something like this?
32. I did 35. 42,000.
35.
I got 52.
I got 60.
60.
65.
65.
I got
70.
52.
40.
34.
34. Okay.
Is for this?
I don't know what the association dues are on this one. I didn't ask. I could if I wanted to, if I was interested. But knowing that there's an underlying mortgage on this one that still has to be shorted, I'm not interested in it. But it's a good one for educational for us. There's a couple things in here that are right and a couple things that are wrong, and I'm going to point out a couple 1970s things that we should not be doing today that you will see, but they will not pass code if an inspector walked through here now and saw it. All right. So I think everyone was coming up pretty decent prices, in the 30s to 40 would be on the high side if we didn't have to do the sheetrock.
So that's great information to know that it's double it.
Yeah, and that's just a rule of thumb, and if you said that to a contractor, they would shoot you. But that's a rule of thumb that I've used, and it gets me at least in the ballpark. So I get a good idea what it's going to cost to sheetrock the place and finish it all back up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The contractor's not doing the underwriting, you are.
Right. But we do have to come up with a good ballpark number. So I'm at 64,000 is my number.
Okay.
Total, all in. Should be about 60 to 70. So as long as we're, our goal is not to be exactly 100% correct. Our goal is to be within about 10% of what we should be able to get the work done for. Now my guess is we got to replace the door and that patio door. Mm-hmm. Now this is a townhouse, so the exterior, we're not responsible for the siding and the roof. That's all the association. So you just keep that in mind. We're responsible for everything on the HOA. I just don't know what it is. And you guys know what HOA is, right?
Yeah,
Homeowner Association dues. Well, and that's why Dave buys association liens because they weren't paying their HOAs. And so that's what investors like Dave will do is they'll buy the HOA. And so if you look on there, last sold 18,000. So that's probably what Dave ended up having to pay was 18,000 for the back HOAs.
And he's still considering a short sale?
Well, and then he foreclosed on that.
Uh-huh.
And then now there's a lender that also was foreclosing during the same time.
I see.
And if they did not destroy it to this condition, he would have been able to keep it as like a good rental property and it would have cash flowed. But now with the amount of money, he has to put $60,000 in here, and that's what he figures too. Is around $60,000. That's bids he said is $60,000. So $60,000 to renovate this thing on top of the 18 already put in it, and the underlying mortgage is $140, I think.
Okay.
So he has to get a short sale on that to offset what he's into it, and then he can break even. So he said he's got a short sale offer in. They've been working it for a little while. Sounds like he's hopeful that the bank's going to take it, and then he can go ahead and do the renovation on the property and break even on it.
So when you're saying short sale, it's not the loan is not in his name. It's whoever owned it prior to, correct?
Right, because that underlying loan is still there.
Got it. So that has to be satisfied first.
That has to be satisfied as well, and that probably hasn't been paid for 2 years as well.
So do we know what that is?
You said about 140.
140, I think that's what I heard him say. 140
So it's 140
plus the 60 to put in here.
So, now
So
you're-
what do you guys think the ARV is?
I have no idea.
That on the back sheet is the back.
Yeah, most
It's got comps.
Yeah, the comps are, you're upside down on the property.
Yeah, based on the comps, you're upside down.
Yeah.
So how does he make money? What's the point? Why'd he go into this?
Turn it into a rent.
If they didn't do this, if they didn't destroy it,
Would have been fine.
he would have been fine. And there is a risk when you're buying association liens and like that. You don't get into the houses to see them. He would have just walked by, looked inside, and it would have probably looked okay, or they would have had the curtains and saw people were living here at the time. But by the time he ended up getting possession of it, every once in a while you're going to get one of those people that are just miserable human beings.
So basically, did he lose more profit after this being messed up than if
Well, if he can get them to accept a short sale, he'll still come out okay.
okay.
Because I'm guessing he was projecting for it to cost about 20 or 30K to be able to actually do the rehab for it.
Yeah, he'd have probably been projecting 10 or less,
Wow.
knowing him. Yeah. So you take something like this, and if he's going to hold on to it as a rental property, you're not as a rental property. You shouldn't be spending more than about $10,000 on a small unit like this, unless it's destroyed. Right. So I mean, there is a little bit of a risk, but he's sophisticated enough, and he is capable enough to come out of it without losing money or breaking even at worst. It's just going to take him a little while, and he'll break even more than likely.
And he'll help somebody have a nice house.
Yeah. Yeah, and he'll either, now that he's got a rehab, but he'll probably end up selling it and just break even, or he might make enough of a profit. I mean, he's working a short sale now. I don't know what his short sale number is. He's not going to tell me that.
So
Because he might want to wholesale it. If he gets a good enough number, he might want to wholesale it and still make a profit.